What would be bad about that? I mean, like, so they would sell our data to corporations that are interested in selling us products. So isn't that convenient?
You've got to be so careful of the lie of convenience and safety, because it's not about convenience and safety. It is about control and power. So if you want to answer that question, go and ask a Chinese citizen how convenient it is that they can pay with their phone, but they can't travel or go send their children to school or get a job if they don't smile correctly at all the government cameras. That is the reality of a digital identity future.
Well, there's probably no risk that Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, is giving away any useful data about her movements. She caught a train from London to Manchester yesterday. Alexandra, what was that all about?
You know, it doesn't even matter what that was about. What I found really quite hysterically funny is that because of all this public pressure on her and her jet-setting lifestyle and all her little, private flights everywhere, despite being a climate virtuoso, she drove to the train station in an electric four-wheel drive, which most of us can't afford, and then caught a train to show that she can slum it with the peasants on her way to the new conference. But of course, it was a special train and she was surrounded by bodyguards. And she was actually wearing a shirt worth more than most of us earn in several months. So her image is actually the funniest part of that story, that they are trying to change the public perception of what they're up to.
Don't think it worked, do you?
No, I don't think it worked, but it was hysterically funny to watch that there's definitely been some recognition that they might be a little bit of a pair of hypocrites.
It's funny, the harder she tries, the worse she makes it for herself. Now, speaking of the Australian version, let's talk about Paul Bongiorno.
Well, she should have arrived on a horseback like Joan of Arc. It would have been on trend for the Globe Theatre production.
Well, are you calling her transgender now? Come on.
Oh, no, I made a mistake.
Yes. Now listen, former 10 journalist and prominent leftist in Australia, Paul Bongiorno, made an unkind observation about incoming federal independent MP Di Lee yesterday. Di Lee is the new MP for Fairfield in Western Sydney, which is probably one of Australia's most multicultural electorates. Di Lee herself, who was aged 54, was born in Vietnam and endured years in a refugee camp as a child before arriving in Australia at the age of 11 with her family. Her maiden speech this week included details of the journey that were heartbreaking and frightening. But Bongiorno decided to ruin it all with this tweet, which said, quote, "Independent Di Lee mars a gut-wrenching first speech," I think he meant maiden speech, "of refugee survival by wearing an Australian flag and end lockdowns," he meant likened lockdowns, "to communist suppression. Simply appalling," unquote. Alexandra, what happened then?
Congratulations for reading over the typos, because I struggled with that when I tried to read it. So how dare a migrant love Australia? She had this fabulous Union Jack dress on and the Australian flag all the way down the centre of it, and she looked great. And there's nothing that upsets a lefty journalist more than someone who's patriotic about their country, and she definitely is. And he was most upset that she likened the behaviour under COVID to communism, which is a comparison made quite often, considering it was brutal what happened to Australia, and that really upset him. How dare a migrant woman talk about communism? What would she possibly know about a communist system? Is Paul's answer. And don't worry, he was absolutely rolled through social media, because not only did he insult a migrant, he insulted a woman as well, which is not on brand for lefty journalists.